Okay, we're back on record. The time is 1:18 and this begins Media 2.
Ms. McClure, I understand that you brought some documents to the deposition today?
Yes.
What did you bring?
I brought the one that noticed for the date and time of
the notice for your deposition?
Yes. I brought another set of papers that I'm not sure who they came from.
Well, if they might have come from council, then I'm not sure what this is, but
And they probably didn't come from council.
well, they didn't come from me, but they might have come from staff council.
Or from staff, I think.
This looks like something that might have been prepared by staff council. So I prefer to hold off on this. Maybe we can talk about it during the next break.
Did you, the two pages that Mr. Jacobs just flipped over, do you know where you got those?
No.
Well, how did you find them?
In my file that I've been just sticking everything in as I have it.
Is there a date on the document?
No.
There appear to be some highlights in purple, correct?
Correct.
Did you put the purple highlights on there?
No, I received it that way.
And to be clear, this is not any kind of underlying source document like a disclosure form or anything like this. This is a table of disclosures that, and my guess is that it was prepared by staff council at the commission. So we're not prepared to provide this to you at this time. I can have a discussion with Ms. McClure during the next break about it.
Sure.
But
let's set that aside.
Yeah.
What else did you bring?
I brought the information that Bonnie Neely had requested a ex parte, and that I had received from her a request, but it came in on my charter account. And I did respond to her that said, talk to you at 9, because it was trying to set up a meeting. And I brought notice from Paul Langley of lodging information that came to my address, not to the county accounts.
It came to your charter.net account?
Yeah, and it's just the notice of lodging information for July.
Okay.
if the rest of those are not privileged documents, it'd probably be faster just to provide them to Mr. Briggs, and he can see for himself what they all are.
Well, I do have some ex parte communication form. These were ex partes that I had done on my computer and then submitted them via the county computer.
There's nothing that you have in your hand now that's between you and your attorneys, correct?
Correct.
All right, so
Okay,
it would be faster if you just let me...
And you'll make copies and I can have it returned to me, please?
Yeah, we'll try to get the hotel to do that. Otherwise, we'll make some arrangements to get copies. Yes.
And then I brought your communications.
What do you mean by your communications?
Your
Pleadings from litigation, is that?
yeah, the litigation
Okay.
stuff.
Have you just handed me the documents that you just handed me, other than the 2 pages that you're going to talk to Mr. Jacobs about at a break? Are all of the documents that you found in response to the deposition notice, not including documents filed in the lawsuit, correct? That was a horrible question. Let's do it a different way. Other than copies of documents filed in the lawsuit, you just handed me everything that you have that responds to the depo notice, other than the 2 pages that you and Mr. Jacobs are going to talk about at the break, correct?
That was everything that I could find on my personal computer that may have it was there either as a Word document or it had come in as an email.
Okay. Essentially, you've given me everything you have connected to this lawsuit other than court papers, correct? Yes?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
To the best of my ability, I'm not a computer whiz.
Okay.
And Ms. McClure, I'm just going to ask you to, that document that may be confidential, I'd ask you to turn it over so it's not, we don't forget about it and leave it in plain view. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to just set these aside so that we make copies of them at a break, but we'll keep them separate from the potentially confidential ones, okay? I'm going to show you an exhibit marked as G. Exhibit G is my client's first set of requests for admission to Martha McClure. Do you recognize Exhibit G?
Yes, I do.
Do you recall the first time you saw it, when that was?
No.
Okay.
I don't see any dates on it even.
That's okay. You recognize the document, you just don't recall when you saw it, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I'll show you an exhibit marked letter H. Letter H is Martha McClure's response to plaintiff's request for admission, set 1. Do you recognize that document, ma'am?
I believe I do.
Okay.
Again, these documents are difficult to see which one is different from the other because they're all in the same format.
Yeah. This document doesn't have a page attached to it that's called a verification page, but normally the parties responding to documents sign a verification page. Do you recall reading this document and signing a verification page for it?
I don't recall.
Okay. I'm going to show you
What was H called?
your response to plaintiff's request for admission, set 1.
And the transcript will have a list of all the exhibits. So
And you're actually going to get a copy of these. Your lawyer's keeping them for you right now. If it makes your life any easier. Exhibit I is form interrogatories, set 1 to Martha McClure. Do you recall ever seeing that document before?
I believe yes.
Okay. Sometime around the end of last year.
Possibly yes.
Okay.
And that one was called what?
Form interrogatories.
I wanted to ask Ms. McClure if she'd scoot over to her left just a couple inches.
I'm
that chair
scooching.
keeps rolling it right out of my frame. Thank you.
I'm going to show you an exhibit marked as letter J. Letter J is Martha McClure's responses to plaintiff's form interrogatory, set 1. Do you recognize that document, ma'am?
I believe I do, yes.
Okay. It doesn't have a verification page attached to it. Do you recall signing a verification page for that exhibit?
It's your testimony, don't look at me.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, the verification page said something like, under penalty of perjury, everything in this document
Correct.
is true.
I've signed several of those, so it's hard to tell again which document I've signed them that they relate to because they all look alike.
Okay. You don't have any reason to believe that the statements made in Exhibit J are false, do you?
No.
Okay. I'll show you an exhibit marked as letter K. Letter K is special interrogatory set 1 from my client to Martha McClure. Do you recall seeing that document before today, Ms. McClure?
Again, I believe so.
Okay. I'll show you an exhibit marked as letter L. Letter L is defendant Martha McClure's responses to plaintiff's special interrogatory set 1. Do you recognize that document, ma'am?
Yes, I do, because it also has my signature on the page,
Okay.
in the document.
It actually has 2 of your signature pages, doesn't it?
I only saw one. I'm not having a large time to look at these, a long time to look at them. I see one.
Oh, so it's only my copy that inadvertently got 2. Okay, but you did sign the verification
Correct.
form. Did you read the document, Exhibit L, before you signed the verification form?
Yes,
And everything in Exhibit L is true and correct?
to the best of my recollection and my ability to understand legalese.
Okay. Take a look at Exhibit M, please. Exhibit M is my client's demand for production and inspection of documents to Martha McClure, set 1. Do you recall seeing that document before today?
Again, I believe so, yes.
Okay. Show an exhibit marked letter N. Letter N is defendant Martha McClure's responses to plaintiff's requests for production of documents, set 1. Do you recall seeing that document before, ma'am?
Yes, in fact, that one has my signature page on it.
You signed the verification page at the end?
Correct?
Did you read the document before you signed the verification?
Yes, I did,
Is everything in the document true and correct?
to the best of my knowledge.
Showing an exhibit marked as letter O. O is defendant Martha McClure's amended responses to plaintiff's request for production of documents.
Yes.
You recognize
I
that document?
Yes,
Is that your verification
correct.
page number 5?
Yes,
Okay. And did you read Exhibit O before you signed the verification page?
to the best of my ability, yes.
Okay. And is everything in Exhibit O true and correct?
To the best of my ability to interpret the information, yes.
Okay. I'll show you an exhibit marked with the letter P.
I'm not even writing them down at this point.
Exhibit P is defendant Martha McClure's second amended responses to plaintiff's requests for production of documents. You recognize that document, ma'am?
I believe so, yes, and I also signed the verification.
Okay. And did you read the document before you signed the verification?
Yes, I did,
And is everything in the document true and correct?
to the best of my ability to interpret the information, yes.
I'm going to show you an exhibit marked with the letter Q. Letter Q is defendant's privilege log in response to plaintiff's request for production of documents. Do you recognize Exhibit Q?
This one seems to be I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Okay, take a look at the second page of Exhibit Q, please. And on that list of documents, are there any there that you recognize?
I think I need more information as to what they entail before I can say yes, that I recognize them.
Okay. Nothing jumps off the page at you, though?
No.
Okay. Do you see the second item there is a memo from Chris Peterson dated April 6th of 2017?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes? Sorry.
Did you receive a copy of any memos from Chris Peterson in April of 2017?
I don't recall.
After you finished on the Coastal Commission in December of last year, correct?
Correct.
Did you receive any legal memos from them after December of last year?
No. Well, there is a memo that is given to commissioners when they're no longer on the commission that makes reference to what your legal, when you can participate in things, and it's just a document that's a follow-up after you leave.
That's a reminder about your Political Reform Act disclosures and lobbying prohibitions, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And that came from Chris.
Okay. But it didn't have anything to do with ex parte communications, did it?
Not that I recall.
Okay. I'm going to show you an exhibit marked with the letter R. Exhibit R is plaintiff's second set of requests for admissions to Martha McClure. Ma'am, do you recognize Exhibit R?
I recognize Exhibit R as far as the first 3 pages. I don't know. I believe I received the addendums because I know I did receive the PowerPoint, and that's it. I mean,
Okay. Let me have you turn within Exhibit R. Let me have you turn to Exhibit 1, which is about 6 pages in.
that's this one?
Yeah, go one more page. Okay, now you're at Exhibit 1, and then flip one more. Okay, good. So if you look at Exhibit 1, it's 4 pages. That is a version of the website that includes the roster of commissioners. Do you recognize that website at all?
Yes.
Okay. If you would turn to page 3 and look at the bottom, where it says ex parte communication requirements, carrying over to page 4, does that language look familiar to you?
Yes.
Did you ever read that website before?
Yes.
Okay. Now take a look at page 2. And, sorry, strike that. Does the language at the bottom of page 3 and the top of page 4 from Exhibit 1 of Exhibit R, is that consistent with your understanding of the ex parte rules that apply to you?
It appears to be the same. I have not had time to read every word, but it appears to be the same that's at the end of the web page.
Okay. Now turn the page to Exhibit 2 of Exhibit R. That's another version of the web page containing the roster of commissioners. And do you recognize that website?
Yes.
Okay, and then turn to page 3 of Exhibit 2, where you see the ex parte communication requirements. Do you recognize that language?
Yes.
You've read that page before?
Yes, I believe that both of these that you've given me are the same.
Okay. Go ahead and turn to Exhibit 3 of Exhibit R. That is another version of the website for coastal commissioners. Do you recognize it?
I believe so, yes.
And if you turn to the bottom of page 4 and the top of page 5, there is an ex parte communication requirements section. Do you see that?
Correct.
Do you recognize the language there?
It appears to be the same language that's been in the last 3 documents.
Okay. Did you read this website when it was
Yes.
on? You've read this website before?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe clarification, this is the same website that you've given me 3 other copies of, right?
It's the same website, but it's different versions that the Coastal Commission posted. We
Can
simply,
you point those out, or
well, they're
different versions in relationship?
at different points in time when there were different commissioners.
Oh, okay, but the language has stayed consistent.
I just took screenshots of what the Coastal Commission has had.
Yes.
So that's why I'm asking you, does the language look familiar
Yeah,
to you?
it looks right, but
Okay.
I would need to compare it exactly, so...
Over the years, you would go to the website that includes the list of commissioners and get information, correct? Whether it's contact information or to make sure you knew the ex parte rules. Yes?
Correct.
Okay. Now turn to Exhibit 4 of Exhibit R. It is another version of the website listing coastal commissioners. And if you turn to page 4, there is another ex parte communication requirements section. Do you see that?
Yes.
Did you read that website?
It appears to be the same, and so therefore, yes, I would have read it.
Okay.
I can't guarantee that I read the ex parte stuff on every one, because there appears to be no change in them,
Okay.
so I wouldn't be able to discern.
But the language looks familiar to you.
Correct.
And the language is consistent with your understanding of the rules, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, and then did we just do Exhibit 5, which is another version of the Commissioner website? And if you turn to pages 5 and 6, it again has the ex parte communication requirements language. Do you see that?
Correct.
Does that look familiar to you?
Yes.
You would have read that website at some point
I read this website at some point
as a commissioner.
as a commissioner.
Okay. And the language here on pages 5 and 6 looks familiar to you?
It
yes?
appears to be the same as presented on the other pages,
Okay.
yes.
And it's familiar to you independently of these pages?
Yes.
Okay. Now turn to Exhibit 6. That's an August 4, 2016 memo to Coastal Commissioners. It is 2 pages long. Do you recognize that memo?
Yes.
Is that memo consistent with your understanding of the ex parte rules and disclosure procedures that applied to you while you were commissioner?
Correct.
Okay. Are you aware of any changes that are stated in this memo that reflect differences in the rules or the procedures that applied prior to August 4 of 2016?
No, but I believe that the submittal information is new here as far as just verifying how to proceed with submitting information.
Okay, so the procedures were no different prior to August 4, 2016, but now the actual submittal information is spelled out in a
Clarified.
document? Is
Correct.
that correct? Okay. But the information in this memo is not new to you, is that
No.
correct? No, it's not correct?
It's not correct. No, excuse me. It is correct that I recognize this.
And is it correct that there's no new information in this memo? That's a poor question. Is it true that there's nothing in the August 4, 2016 memo that differs from what the rules or procedures were before August 4 of 2016?
Correct.
Okay. Now take a look at Exhibit 7. Do you recognize that 2-page document? And again,
Yes.
this is Exhibit 7 to Exhibit R.
Yes.
And you recognize the 2 pages?
Correct.
And do those 2 pages accurately reflect in your mind the rules and procedures for ex parte disclosures that applied to you during your tenure as a Coastal Commissioner?
Yes.
Okay. Take a look at Exhibit 8, which is a PowerPoint given by Christopher Peterson at the Coastal Commission. Do you recognize Exhibit 8?
Yes.
Were you on the dais when that PowerPoint was given by?
Yes.
Okay. And does that PowerPoint accurately reflect in your mind the rules that applied to you during your tenure as a coastal commissioner?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know who Sarah Wan is?
Yes.
Who is
But
Sarah Wan?
I would like a question in the end of this document that you
Sure.
just, have you moved from that one?
Yeah, well, I'm done asking you questions about Exhibit R for the moment. But
I just want to state that when I read the addendum, I recognized it, and with the exception of this page,
which you're
that came
holding up,
July 12th, 2017.
you're holding up the proof of service page, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, just so you know, usually when court documents are shared by the attorneys, they'll attach a page or two at the end that says, I served this, or I
Okay.
gave it to my colleagues.
Yeah,
And
that
that's
one was
what-
the only one I didn't see.
Fair enough. Do you know who Sarah Wan is?
Yes.
Who is Sarah?
A former Coastal Commission commissioner?
She also lobbied the Coastal Commission?
Yes.
Did she ever lobby the commission while you were a commissioner?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever have any ex parte communications with Sarah?
Yes.
How many?
I don't recall the number.
Approximately how many?
I want to say 2.
Okay. Were all of your ex parte communications with Sarah disclosed?
I haven't been able to recheck any of that because I've been locked out of those emails.
Okay.
But I do know that I had one with her phone conversation that I have an ex parte on that was I typed on my computer.
Okay. Are you aware of any ex parte communications you've had with Sarah that were not disclosed?
No.
Okay. Do you know who Susan McCabe is?
Yes.
Do you know that she has a company called McCabe and Company?
Yes.
Do you know whether there are any... Well, who is Susan?
She is the director of her company. She lobbies at the Coastal Commission.
Okay. Do you know
Well,
whether...
I'm not sure. She doesn't lobby. She presents at the...
These are paid representatives for applicants and interested
Correct.
persons, correct?
Correct.
Okay. We affectionately call them lobbyists, but some people don't like that
Well,
term.
the term,
right?
I'm not sure that it meets the definition.
I understand. Okay. So let's call them paid advocates, okay?
Okay.
And Sarah Wan is a paid advocate as well?
Yes.
Okay. And Susan is a paid advocate, yes?
Yes.
Do you know whether any other persons affiliated with her business are paid advocates, or is it just Susan?
I believe that she employs people, but she's the head of her company.
When you have ex parte communications with someone from McCabe and Company, it's always Susan, right?
Not always.
Oh, okay. So who else from Susan's company have you had ex partes with?
Ann Blemker.
Okay. How many ex parte communications have you had with someone from Susan's company?
I don't know the total number.
Approximately.
At least 20,
Okay.
but again, I don't know the number.
That's your best estimate, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Have you had any ex parte communications with anyone from Susan's company that you did not disclose?
Not to the best of my recollection, I have
Okay.
not.
Do you know who Donald Schmitz is?
Yes, I do.
Who is Donald Schmitz?
He's a paid advocate.
Is his company known as Schmitz & Associates?
Yes.
Have you had any dealings with any paid advocates from Schmitz & Company other than Don?
No.
Okay. Have you ever had an ex parte communication with Don?
Yes.
On how many occasions?
I don't know the total number.
Approximately.
At least between 5 and probably 15.
Okay.
That may be a reach, the 15, but
Okay. Have you ever had any ex parte communications with Don that you did not disclose?
no.
Okay. Do you know who David Niche is?
Yes.
Are you aware that he has a company called DB Niche Incorporated?
Yes.
Do you know whether he has a son with a similar name?
Correct.
Have you ever had any dealings with the senior or junior David relating to the Coastal Commission
Yes.
as paid advocates?
Yes.
Okay. How many ex parte communications have you had with junior or senior David?
Unknown, the total, it would range probably between 5 and 15.
Okay. And have you had any ex parte communications with David Jr. or Sr. that you've not disclosed?
No.
Do you know who Jared Ficker is?
No.
Do you know who California Strategies LLC is?
No.
Okay. You've not had any ex parte communications with Jared Ficker?
On my recollection, that name and that company are not, I have no recollection.
You don't recall anything about California Strategies either?
Correct.
Have you ever heard of Cal Strat?
No.
Okay. Do you know who Stanley Lamport is?
Yes.
Is Stanley also a paid advocate?
Yes.
Is he at Cox Castle in Nicholson?
I think so, yes.
Okay. He's a lawyer, right?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever had any ex parte communications with Stanley?
Yes.
On how many occasions?
Oh, possibly between 3 and 5.
Okay. Have you ever had any ex partes with Stanley that you did not disclose?
No.
Do you know who Andriette Culbertson is?
No.
ANDRIETTECULBERTSON? You don't know Andriette?
I don't recall that name.
Okay. Apart from your dealings with Sarah Wan, do you have a social relationship with her outside of the Coastal Commission?
No.
Apart from your dealings with Susan McCabe and her company at the Coastal Commission, do you have any relationship with her outside the Commission?
No longer.
Did you before?
Well, can you give me that again of what you're asking?
Yeah, I'm trying to understand whether you're friendly
That I
with...
would, yes, I was friendly with her, and that at a commission meeting I may go to dinner with her or
Okay.
see her.
Okay. But you're no longer friendly with her?
I have no contact.
I see. It's not that you had a falling out, it's that you don't see her anymore.
Right.
Because you're not on the commission.
That was the level of our socialness, was all around commission.
I see. Are you friends with Donald Schmitz?
Yes.
Did you have a relationship with Donald Schmitz apart from his being a paid advocate of the Coastal Commission?
Yes.
What was the nature of your relationship with Don?
We were friends.
For how long?
2 years, 3. The term of my commission, when I met him, we became friends over the course of time.
Okay. Did you ever spend the night at his house?
Yes, I did.
On how many occasions?
1.
When was that?
That was in I believe it was 2013. It's been hard for me to verify the dates because it was a personal activity that we did.
You became friends with Don through your interaction with him at the Coastal Commission?
Correct.
You weren't friends with him before you became a commissioner?
No.
Let me finish, please. You weren't friends with Don before you became a Coastal Commissioner, correct?
Correct.
How did you come to be spending the night at his house?
Well, may I back up a little bit on how we became friends?
Sure.
We became friends during breaks because I consumed tobacco and so does he.
Okay.
And so we would be out there, and the rule is very strict that you don't talk about anything that's going on. And so we took up the conversation about children, and that he had 3 children, and that his wife, even though they had divorced, she had passed away, and he had the 3 children, and we talked about that. Because I've been a school teacher and a child advocate and even a parenting teacher. And so that's where our conversations emerged, is that we talked about kids.
Okay. So how did you come to be spending the night at his house?
He invited me to attend his son's football game at the end of a commission meeting on a Friday night.
Okay.
That had ended, the commission had ended fairly late. I don't have the exact time, but I knew that I wasn't going to be able to drive from there to my home without having to deal with all of the traffic and stuff. And he suggested, well, why don't you just stay and see my son's game and come and meet all of the folks that we hang out with at the football game. So I went to the football game, and when the football game was over, he invited me to come up, and why don't you guys just come and spend the night here and then go in the morning, which is what we did.
Who are you guys?
My husband and myself.
Okay. And where did this Coastal Commission take place? Coastal Commission meeting take place?
I think it was Newport Beach, but I'm not good on the locations because they are all kind of Southern California to me.
Roughly.
And I think it was Newport, or it was somewhere around the Santa Monica Mountains. How's that?
You know, those of us from Southern California feel the same way about
Northern
California.
California, yeah.
Let the record reflect everyone in the room is smiling. Anyways, so was Don's house in Orange County?
I believe so. It's in the Santa Monica Mountains.
Okay, so it might have been Los Angeles County.
Yeah.
But Southern California.
Yeah, I think it might have been L.A. County. I don't know.
Okay, that's fine. Why didn't you get a hotel room?
He just invited us up, and we were all yakking, and his girlfriend was going to be up at the house and come and meet her, and it was just it was friends.
But the Coastal Commission would have paid for your hotel room, correct?
Correct. Many times I stayed longer and didn't charge the commission.
But the Coastal Commission would cover your travel expenses,
Correct.
So if you needed to get a hotel that night in lieu of staying at Don's house, the Coastal Commission would have paid for a hotel room, correct?
Correct, but I believe that I was off the Coastal Commission's agenda at that point, and when we decided to stay, it was at the football game, and that's where it came from. There was really no consideration of, well, should the commission pay for my overnight? That was not a consideration.
You lived up here in Northern California, Crescent
Correct.
City at the time, right?
Correct.
Is Don's house nice?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Okay.
It was built from a trailer and has been added on ever since. So it was kind of a...
Did you pay him to stay there?
No.
Did you ever disclose in any of your political filings that you stayed at someone's house for free?
No, because it wasn't, I didn't believe it was a political obligation, that it was a friendship, and that he was there and spent the night. We were all there.
But it was a friendship that you developed based on you being a commissioner and him being a paid advocate, correct?
It had grown beyond that, yes.
Had it grown beyond that apart from your cigarette breaks together?
I was invited to his wedding, but I didn't attend.
Why didn't you attend?
Because I live way up there and he lives way down there. And I didn't need to do a 14-hour ride to get to a wedding.
So, did you think that you and Don had become something more than cigarette break friends while you were on the commission?
Yes.
Okay.
Primarily around the issue of family. I think that's where our friendship was.
Did you talk to Don at any time other than during these cigarette breaks and during ex parte communications?
He would send me an email that might say, Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, or...
Were those emails that were broadcast to lots of folks, or was he saying, Dear Martha, have a nice Thanksgiving?
Dear Martha, have a nice
Okay.
Thanksgiving.
Did you reciprocate?
Sometimes I would say, you too, or I'm not the most, I don't respond a lot to a lot of that kind of stuff.
Okay. Do you have any idea what a hotel room would have cost you if you'd have stayed at a hotel instead of at Don's house that night?
Whatever the state rate is, I don't know. If I would have rented a hotel outside of state rate, it would have probably been more, and there wasn't a hotel at state rate, and so I was on my way home. I didn't even consider it. I've come home from Coastal Commission meetings and gone to my son's house and spent the night on the way home. Or I've gone to my daughter's house and spent the night on the way home. Even a couple of times I stayed with friends that we stopped in with, you know.
Do you think that there's at least some appearance of irregularity in you staying at the house of a paid advocate with business before your decision-making body?
No.
You think it's perfectly fine?
Has to answer.
You can answer.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it meets all of the FPPC requirements.
What did you and Don talk about at the football game?
His kids and the people next to him and, you know, the plays on the field. It was just a regular football game where you kind of sit and have hot dogs and talked about your hot dog order or whatever. It wasn't.
What did you talk about once he got back to his house?
I met his girlfriend, who's now his wife, and we talked to her because she was a expat, I think from, I want to say Sweden, or I'm not sure, I don't remember where she's from, but we talked about that and she had talked a lot about college, and we, you know, that was the conversation had no commission business.
Once you got back to the house, did you stay up and have drinks together?
Yeah, we did.
How late did you stay up?
Gosh, I don't remember. I would want to say no later than midnight.
Okay. Did you discuss anything related to the Coastal Commission?
No.
Okay.
May I add that Dawn and I, when we became friends outside, that was one of the hard lines that I had said we can't talk about stuff, and he was in agreement to that.
Okay. I'm going to show you an exhibit marked letter S. Letter S is Defendant Martha McClure's responses to plaintiff's request for admission, set 2. Do you recognize that document, ma'am?
I do.
Is that your signature on the verification page?
It is.
Let me finish, please. On the verification page at the end?
Now answer.
Yes.
Yes. Did you read Exhibit S before you signed the verification page?
I did.
Is everything in Exhibit S true and correct?
No.
Okay. What's not correct in Exhibit S?
When I reread it for a subsequent time, I found out that I reread number 17 and 18.
Okay.
And I was at the meetings, and so that was changed. I'm fairly sure that was amended, that I had sent that to Joel, that those two were listed as, or you will list them as admit.
Okay. Well, is there some reason that you didn't correct that mistake before you signed the verification page?
I missed it.
But you did read Exhibit S before you signed the verification page, correct?
Yes, and I want to establish that it's very difficult for me to read legalese, to read things that come in, and I may have missed it, I may have grabbed the second, you know, I missed it.
Did you have an opportunity to talk to Mr. Jacobs about the responses before you signed the verification form?
Yes,
Okay.
and there should be one that's signed with the corrected.
Okay. I'm going to show you an exhibit.
Let's try to focus on the question you're being asked. and
Okay.
Answer that.
I'm going to show you an exhibit marked with letter T. Exhibit T is Defendant Martha McClure's amended responses to plaintiff's request for admissions, set 2. Do you recognize that document?
Yes, I do.
Do you see your signature on the verification page?
Yes, I
Let
do.
me finish, please.
Oh.
On the verification page, it is number 8. Yes?
Yes,
And did you read Exhibit T before you signed the verification page?
yes,
And is everything in Exhibit T true and correct?
no.
What is not true or correct?
That 17 and 18 should be admit, not deny.
So, in a second document dealing with 17 and 18, you also gave wrong answers, correct? Did you know that 17 and 18 should have said admit instead of deny at the time you signed the verification form?
No.
So when did you realize that you gave a false answer?
I guess the next time that Joel sent it to me, because that's when I found it, and called him back and said, Joel, I admit to both of these. I was there.
Okay. So Mr. Briggs just asked you when, and your answer included some of our conversations. So again, I'd urge you not to testify about anything that you said to me or anything that I said to you.
Okay. So here in Exhibit S, you signed the verification form.
I have T.
I understand. I have S in my hand. I'm going to give it to you. You signed the verification form on July 10 of 2017, correct? You can look at Exhibit S if you want.
Yes.
How long did it take you after you signed the verification form on July 10 of 2017? How long did it take you to realize that you'd given a false answer?
I realized that I had made a mistake later when I had received when I had received this a set. I have to admit that that's when I was getting ready to go on vacation and was focusing on vacation and may have missed it because of that. I admit I missed those two, and they should be, that I accept that as that I was there.
Okay, let me take Exhibit S from you. Can you look at the date you signed the verification for Exhibit T? What's the date?
September 29th.
So more than 2 months later, you again verified a document that contains 2 false answers, correct?
I had not looked at the document again until this came to me, and I was asked to sign another one, and I signed it.
Well, when you
And
say,
yes, I made a mistake on the same document twice.
So at what point in time did you communicate to your counsel that you made a mistake?
Well, now we're getting into attorney-client communication, so you shouldn't answer that question.
Well, I want to know, at what point in time did you communicate to anybody that you had given false answers under penalty of perjury?
And again, don't talk about communications with me, but if you had communications with anyone else about that, you can testify about it.
I had no other conversations with anyone.
So when is the first time that you realized, date-wise, what's the date when you first realized you'd signed a document under penalty of perjury that had 2 false answers?
I had missed 2 points on there that I should have said I agree to, and I had it listed as deny. And when I reread it again, that's when I picked it up, and it was in the last time I signed this document.
Mm-hmm. Do you know when the last time you signed that document is?
I would have to ask my attorney if he has record of it. I guess I could look at my email.
Well, you're looking at your amended responses to my client's second set of admission requests. Did you provide an answer after September 22 of this year?
This one is September 29th of this year.
Okay, well
And I...
okay, then help me understand something. I'm
Okay.
looking at Exhibit T, and
Correct.
page 8 is your verification form that you signed, or appear to have signed, on September 29th of this year. Am I reading that correctly?
You are reading that correctly,
Okay,
yes.
now turn to the very last page, which is that proof of service, and the top item says Defendant Martha McClure's amended responses to plaintiff's request for admission set 2. Do you see where it says that at the top of the page?
No, what page are you on?
The very last page of Exhibit T. Okay, at the very top. It says Defendant Martha McClure's amended responses to plaintiff's request for admission set 2. Do you see that?
I see that, but I've never seen this page before.
I understand. Do you see that that last page was signed on September 22 of 2017?
No, it says the 29th.
Your copy says the 29th?
Correct.
May I see your copy?
Of where I signed it?
Not where you signed it. We're on the wrong page, so let me see what you're looking at. I want you to look at the very last page of Exhibit T. And I want you to look at the signature of Shantae Adams at the bottom. Do you see that?
Yes.
Do you see above her signature where she states September 22, 2017?
I've never seen this paper before.
I didn't ask you that. I want to know whether you can see where it says September 22, 2017. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Now go one page earlier. And toward the middle of the page, Shantae wrote, on September 22, 2017, I served the following. And then she provides a list that includes the discovery responses we're talking about. Do you see that?
Yes.
Do you have any idea how it is that she would serve a document on September 22 that has a verification page from you a week later?
Yes, sometimes these would come, and then there would be a change that would be made, and then the verification I would sign again.
Okay. When you signed the verification form on September 29th of this year, did you have your formal discovery response to look at?
Yes.
And did you look at that formal discovery response?
Yes.
And are you telling me that the document that you looked at when you signed this verification page is different from Exhibit T in front of you right now?
Say, I didn't see the final document as I reported my error and haven't seen another one with it corrected.
So you've never seen a corrected version of your discovery responses for these two questions, correct?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Well, what did you say it again, please?
Have you ever seen a corrected discovery response dealing with questions 17 and 18?
I guess. I mean,
I don't want you to guess. You've either seen a document that said you were admitting questions 17 and 18, or you haven't.
I have not.
Okay. Is there some reason you thought it would be appropriate to tell me that today instead of putting it into the formal discovery responses before today?
What do you mean?
Well, you're telling me for the first time today that answers that you gave under penalty of perjury are false.
I'm telling you that I found those two, 17 and 18, and I found that they were incorrect when I read the last iteration of this.
And when did you read the last iteration?
I don't know the date. It's been in the last few weeks. And when I saw the error, I reported the error, and that was the end of the... Can I go to my I mean, I don't know what to do here.
Well, just wait for answer the questions that you're asked. You don't.
Okay.
That's all you need to do here.
Because it seems like you want me to explain it, but
No, he's just asking you questions.
Okay.
And
I
your job
wanna-
is just
I
to
wanna
answer the
know-
questions as best you can.
I want to know which is the false testimony, the testimony you're giving right now, or the answers you gave twice in discovery. Which is false?
Argumentative.
the answer that I gave you now is correct.
Okay. The answer that you've given to my clients and me twice in written discovery is false. Is that right?
I believe that I made a mistake, yes.
Okay.
And in fact, when I...
It was yes or no question. Just answer the questions you're asked.
On 2 occasions before today, you have served my office with discovery responses that are false. Is that correct?
I have served you 2 that had errors of omission, that were errors in one word that was either admit or deny.
The answers that were served on 2 prior occasions on my office, verified by you under penalty of perjury, were false. Is that correct?
No.
They weren't false.
No.
Okay.
I believe that false means that you knew it was there. I believe that I was submitting things correctly. I found the error in the last couple of weeks, and
Well, again, don't talk about our conversations, but say that you found the error.
I found the error and reported it.
But you don't have a document that looks like Exhibit T that has questions 17 and 18 answered correctly, do you?
Unknown. I would have to look at my emails.
A minute ago you said you didn't have one.
I don't have one with me, but I don't know if one came
Okay.
via email.
Okay.
But I know that I tried to correct the record.
And for the record, my belief was that we had served a version that had those two items corrected. I would have to look at my files if we did not. I'm perfectly happy to serve a corrected version.
My client just wants an honest version. It's not
Well-
correct, it's honest. And this is the second of your clients who's admitted in a deposition that they gave false answers under penalty of perjury. So you can probably begin to understand my client's concern about the truthfulness of the information that they're being provided in the course of this litigation.
I'm not going to argue the case with you, but I'm offering to serve it. I should say, if it turns out that we did not serve responses that had those two items changed, we will serve a corrected version because that was our intention. And you can make whatever arguments you want to about that, but I'm just letting you know that our intention was to serve responses with those two items admitted.
Yeah, well, I'm not waiving anything on behalf
I'm
of
not
my
asking
clients.
you to.
I'm going to show you an exhibit marked with the letter U. Letter U is my client's second set of form interrogatories to Martha McClure. Do you recognize that document?
You know, I'm so confused with all of them looking exactly the same at this point that I'm kind of exasperated. I would say yes, it looks like the forms that I was signed, and or that I received, and that's all I can say. Again, I didn't have it on July 12th, 2017, but I'm sure that I received it. But they're difficult to break out to see which is which, but I'm certain that I received all of the necessary information.
Take a look at an exhibit marked with the letter V. Exhibit V is defendant Martha McClure's response to form interrogatory set 2. You recognize that document, ma'am?
Yes, I do.
Is that your verification page at the end?
Yes, it is.
Did you read the document before you signed the verification page?
To the best of my ability, I read the document.
Is everything in the document true and correct?
To the best of my ability to interpret the document, yes.
Great. Turn to page 2, please.
Okay.
In your discovery response that we were looking at a moment ago, in Exhibit S, you denied admission requests 17 and 18. And the form interrogatories that you looked at a moment ago as Exhibit U then asked you to provide all the facts to back up your denial. And the document you have in front of you purports to provide the factual basis for your denial of 17 and 18. Take a look at page 2 and read lines 12 through 14.
RFA 17 pertains to the attendance at the Coastal Commission meeting. The responses were based on the responding party's recollection. Is that enough, or do you want me to keep going?
Keep going, 2 more sentences.
All persons present at the meeting would have knowledge. the Commission's records of the meeting would support the denial.
Is all of that information true?
No.
But you read this document before you signed it, right?
Yes. To the best of my ability, I had made sure that everything was there.
Read the answer on lines 15 through 16 of page 2. The responding party's denial of RFA 18 was based on a lack of knowledge sufficient to admit the RFA. Was that true? Did you lack the knowledge to
the best of my recollection, and I think I may have put this activity that was at the Commission on this date because there was another day that I had missed that ex parte was discussed. But this one I went back and made sure. It was like, is that the right one? And when I went back online and looked at the video, I first made sure that I was there during roll call, which I was, and then that I was also still there during the presentation. And that I believe this was the presentation of the PowerPoint.
So why did you state under penalty of perjury that your denial was based on a lack of knowledge sufficient to admit the request?
I didn't remember clearly. I wasn't sure which one it was. I knew I missed one. Then when I went and looked at the video, it was like I was there.
Well, when did you go look at the video, before or after you signed the verification page?
When I read it the last time, and I went, oh wait, that can't be, is that right? And that's when I went and looked at it.
Well, was that before or after September 29th of this year?
I would have to go and look at my emails to see when I call or when I...
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
No, please don't testify about our communications. But he's asking you whether you remember what date that was.
No, I don't remember the date.
Was there anything else in Exhibit V that's false?
Not to the best of my knowledge and understanding of the document.
Other than questions 17 and 18, have you attempted to verify the accuracy of any of the other answers you've given during discovery in this case?
Yes.
And were you able to verify the accuracy of all of the other discovery answers in this case?
I can't say if it's all or not, but there was many.
Were there any where you were unable to verify the accuracy of your answers?
I don't recall. I don't believe so.
So other than giving false answers to 17 and 18 in the admission request, and other than giving false answers concerning 17 and 18 in this set of interrogatories, you're not aware of any other false answers you've given, correct?
Misstate the testimony.
You can answer.
I don't believe they're false answers. I believe I had discovered a mistake in the paperwork.
The answers are not true. Is that correct?
The answers are not correct.
Okay. Are there any other incorrect answers that you've given us other than 17 and 18 in the admission requests and this corresponding...
Not to my knowledge.
Well, please wait for him to finish the question.
Are there any other incorrect answers that you've provided other than in response to admission requests 17 and 18 and the corresponding responses in your form interrogatories?
To the best of my understanding, there is nothing else. I thought you were shaking my hand.
Exhibit W is Martha McClure's amended responses to plaintiff's form interrogatories, set 2. Do you recognize your verification page on number 4?
Yes, I do.
Did you read this document before you signed the verification?
Yes, I did.
Let me finish.
Finish.
Oh, sorry.
Did you read the verification page? Sorry, did you read the document before you signed the verification page?
I believe I did, yes.
And is everything in the document true and correct?
No, it's not.
What parts are not correct?
That that 17 is not a correct recollection of what the record indicates.
How about 18? Is it correct, or is it also wrong?
This page doesn't have 18 on it.
Yes, it does. Lines 15 to 16.
Oh, it's in the middle. I'm sorry. Yes, they both go together.
On what date did you sign that verification page?
On the September 15th.
Did you know by September 15th that your answers to admission requests 17 and 18 were wrong?
I did not.
Okay, so it was after September 15th that you discovered that your answers were wrong. Is that correct?
That's correct. I would go on to say it was after September 29th when I signed that one that you had given me that had the 2 dates on it.
So it was after September 29th that you...
I believe that, yes.
Let me finish the question. It was after September 29th of 2017 that you realized that you had given wrong answers under penalty of perjury on more than one occasion, correct?
Correct. I realized there was a mistake.
Let me show you an exhibit marked with the letter X. Letter X is Defendant Martha McClure's second amended responses to plaintiff's request for admissions.
Yes, and this one was on the 29th.
Well, there's no question.
Do you recognize that document?
Yes.
Is that your verification page number 5?
Yes.
Did you read this document before you signed it?
To the best of my ability, I did.
Is everything in that document true and correct?
No, I believe that it's not correct in item 17 and 18.
Show me where in the document it's not correct.
Page 2.
May I see your X? Maybe we're looking at different X's. We're looking at different X's. And we're going to go with yours.
See, you know how hard it is to keep all these different forms straight.
Oh.
Please just wait for the question.
Sorry.
Okay, so are your answers the same with regard to Exhibit X, that those answers are incorrect for 17 and 18
Correct.
in the admission requests?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, I think, let's go off the record.
We're going off record, the time is 2:27.